the federal bureaucracy is so bloated, right? Okay, like the federal government added 99,000 extra government bureaucrats since 2016, 99,000 more federal paper pushers, right? But it's not just the number of bureaucrats that have gone up, so have the costs. Okay, the cost of the federal bureaucracy has ballooned 77% since 2016. It is outrageous. Now, we asked Leger to do 2 polls for us. Okay, the first poll, very simple. Ask Canadians, do you think the government should cut, increase, or maintain the size of the bureaucracy? And look, the polling results show that more than half of Canadians said it's time to cut the size and cost of the bureaucracy. Only 4% of Canadians said that it should be increased. So I guess even some of the government bureaucrats are looking around their offices and being like, yeah, there's some fat to cut. But look, if you remove people who are unsure or don't know, a total of 66% or 2/3 of Canadians are saying enough is enough. Take out the scissors. It's time to trim the fat in Ottawa.
So just to play a little bit of devil's advocate, I mean, if they cut too much, they cut too quickly, wouldn't everybody suffer and be under, a terrible pressure due to all the lack of all those government services provided?
You mean the federal services could get worse than what they are now? Is that what you're saying, Corey?
I don't know. There's always room to get worse.
Look, it's a great segue into the next question that Leger asked, okay? Because, when I talk about the cost of the bureaucracy, I always got to say, ask yourself, are you getting 77% better services from the federal bureaucracy? And it turns out the answer to that question is a big fat no, right? So the Leger poll, the second question, found that 50% of Canadians think services have gotten worse since 2016, okay? Only 11% said that services have gotten better since 2016, but even the majority of those people still say that services should be better than what they have. So, you asked me, well, if they cut off a bunch, if they lay off a bunch of bureaucrats, fire a bunch of bureaucrats, will services get worse? Well, I got to put that question back to the government union bosses that are fear-mongering right now over potential savings and be like, hey, hold on a second. The cost of the bureaucracy has gone up significantly for Canadian taxpayers, and yet services are still dismal. Okay, so I look at the numbers and I'm like, holy, this is such a bloated government, and clearly adding more bureaucrats doesn't mean better results for Canadians.
No, and a parallel to it, which is, it's a different discussion kind of, but it offers a good parallel. Our Canada Post workers, whereas, we aren't getting more postal service than we ever did. In fact, we're using less than we ever have, but the cost of the institution is rising higher and higher. And I've been a little vocal online about my thoughts on postal workers and perhaps they should seek newer employment. But the union types and everything keep saying, well, you'll pay even more when they're all on welfare. How could we lay them off? It would mess with the entire economy. They contribute so much through their taxes. That argument's going to come from the bureaucracies and their unions as well, right?
Well, hold on a second, though, right? The average compensation for a federal bureaucrat, the average is $125,000 a year. So no, we're not going to be paying more when and if the government cuts its bureaucracy, right? Come on. I mean, look, the bureaucracy is consuming more than half of the government's operating budget. And to a point that I think you're getting at, there's just certain things that we don't need the government to be doing, right? We don't need to have essentially a government monopoly handing out mail, right? Come on, we got email. We've had email for a very long time. We definitely don't need a government monopoly. We don't need a government state broadcaster. Okay, we don't need the government losing hundreds of millions of dollars trying to operate a train company, i.e. via rail, right? So there's just so many different things that we don't need any government to be doing, and we especially don't need a government in Ottawa to be doing.